I moved to Norman about 6 months ago. I was 32, and I wanted a quiet place to work. I liked the art scene and the cheap rent. My new apartment was an old two-bedroom. The carpets were worn and the floors weren't even. It felt off, but in a charming way. On my second night, I woke up from sleep. I heard piano keys. They drifted through the bedroom wall. At first, I thought it was my neighbor playing, but then I listened more closely. The notes were wrong. They didn't sound like a real song. I tossed and turned, hoping it would stop. Finally, I fell back asleep. The next night, the music returned. But there was more. I heard soft cries from the other side of the wall. I felt uneasy. Should I knock on the neighbor's door? What would I even say? I didn't want to seem nosy, so I stayed in bed and listened. The cries faded, and I tried to tell myself it was all in my head. On the third night, it got worse. The piano was louder. The notes were sharp and jarring. I felt a chill run down my spine. I noticed the neighbor at her window, staring outside. I couldn't see her face, but her posture felt wrong. She didn't move at all. I whispered, "Hey," but she didn't respond. It felt like I was intruding. That evening, I found strange marks near my door. They looked like symbols scratched into the wood. I was confused. Was someone playing a prank on me? Deep down, I felt unease settle in my stomach. I thought about calling the landlord or the police, but what if I sounded crazy? So I decided to ignore it. I tried to focus on my work, even as my heart raced every night. Then there was a night that changed everything. I heard the piano stop suddenly. I was getting ready for bed. I opened my door, and there she was, the neighbor. She stood in front of my door, staring. I felt a wave of fear. I had to say something. "Are you okay?" She didn't answer. She just stared at me, her eyes wide. I felt uncomfortable. I remembered the music and the cries, and I didn't like it. I asked again, louder this time, "Are you okay?" Suddenly, her mouth opened, but no sound came out. My heart was thudding. I wanted to run, but my feet wouldn't move. I felt trapped. I could see her face now. There was something vacant in her expression, something strange. Then, just as suddenly, she turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows of the hall. I shut my door and locked it. I leaned against it, breathing hard. I wouldn't be staying long in Norman. I didn't know what was happening, and I didn't want to find out. I just wanted to forget. I tried to distract myself the next day. I buried myself in work, focusing on my projects and ignoring the gnawing fear in my gut. But the music haunted me. I could still hear those dissonant notes creeping through the walls, playing in my mind. I decided to take a walk, maybe clear my head. The sun was shining, and there were families out in the park. For a moment, I felt normal, but that didn't last long. As I strolled past the old trees, I caught a glimpse of the neighbor sitting on her front steps, staring at nothing. I had never seen her outside before. I hesitated, considering whether to approach her. Maybe she needed help. But my legs carried me past her, and I felt relief wash over me. I didn't want to get involved. When I returned home, I found the door to her apartment slightly ajar. My heart raced. Should I check on her? I edged closer, hesitating as I listened for any sound inside. Everything was silent. I wanted to step back and go inside my own place, but curiosity dragged me forward. I peeked through the crack and saw the living room. It was dark, except for a few shafts of light filtering through the dusty blinds. But what stood out was the piano, sitting in disarray. It looked ancient, its keys yellowed and chipped. And beside it, on the floor, were more symbols, just like the ones I found near my door. They twinkled faintly, glimmering in the dim light. That was when I saw it. A piece of paper lay next to the piano. I couldn't help myself. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. My pulse pounded in my ears. The air was thick with a strange smell, like burnt wood and something else I couldn't place. I picked up the paper. It was covered in messy scrawls, words I didn't recognize. Just then, I heard a soft creak behind me. I dropped the paper and turned quickly, ready to bolt. But there was nothing. The house felt empty. Just as I turned back to leave, I caught a glimpse of movement from the corner of my eye. There, in the dark, the neighbor was standing again. She was closer this time, her mouth moving, but no sound came out. Panic shot through me. I stepped back, my instincts screaming at me to escape. "Please, just let me go," I stammered, almost a whisper. Her gaze locked onto mine, unwavering. And then, without warning, she raised her hand, pointing at something behind me. I turned, a knot of dread tightening in my stomach. That was when the lights began to flicker, plunging the room into darkness. The air thickened, and I felt a presence, something sinister lurking. Gripped by terror, I bolted for the door, not looking back. As I burst through the threshold, I slammed it shut behind me and leaned against it, gasping for breath. The music wasn't just a figment of my imagination anymore. I could hear it now, louder than ever, reverberating through the walls. And just then, I felt it, a chill creeping up my spine, realizing I was not alone. Someone was watching me. I stood there, back against the door, my breath hitching in my throat. The soft music crept out from the shadows, wrapping around me like a sinister ribbon. With each note, my heart raced faster, a primal instinct urging me to run. But where could I go? This was my home, too. I glanced at the door, half expecting it to swing back open. Maybe she would come after me. I needed to know what was happening. Swallowing hard, I forced myself to step away from the door, my feet dragging slowly toward the staircase. I had to gather my thoughts. I had to think clearly. As I climbed the stairs, the familiar creaks echoed beneath me. I could still hear the music, the dissonant crescendo growing louder. I locked myself in my apartment and threw myself onto the couch, trying to calm my racing heart. But the fear, the gnawing panic made it hard to breathe. I told myself to focus. I needed to analyze everything I had seen and heard. The paper, the symbols, the neighbor. And what was she trying to show me when she pointed? I pushed myself up and grabbed the old notebook I kept for my thoughts. It was time to write it all down. The words flowed like water. I sketched the symbols I had seen on the floor. They looked familiar, yet alien. Maybe I had seen them in some book or movie, but none of that made sense. My hand trembled as I recalled the neighbor's vacant stare and silent movements. I needed answers. Suddenly, a loud thud came from the hallway outside my apartment, making me jump. I froze, every muscle in my body tensing. I pressed my ear against the door, listening intently. Silence followed, making my imagination run wild. It could be her, or it could be something worse. Deciding to be brave, I cracked the door open just a sliver. The hallway was empty, dimly lit and silent. No sign of life. I stepped out, but the moment I did, I felt it again. A chilling sensation, like a breath on my neck. I turned quickly, but only darkness stared back. That's when I noticed something on the floor. Something glimmering. I bent down to take a closer look. The same symbols, lying scattered in the corridor like breadcrumbs leading somewhere. Just as I reached out to touch one, the lights flickered again, and a shadow darted down the other end of the hall. My instinct kicked in, and I chased after it. The adrenaline pulsed through me as I raced down the narrow passage, but when I turned the corner, there was nothing. Just an empty stairwell leading down into darkness. I hesitated, heart pounding. Part of me screamed to run back home and lock the door, but another part urged me to press on, to uncover the truth. As I stood there, the music started again, this time more distinct, more urgent. I realized it was calling me. Then I felt the chill again, and the unmistakable sensation of eyes on my back. I turned, slowly this time, dread gripping me. That's when I saw it, the silhouette of a figure standing at the end of the hall. And then it stepped into the light. The figure moved closer, and I could finally see it clearly. It was a woman, her face gaunt, almost skeletal, and her eyes wide and glassy. She wore a tattered dress that swayed lightly as she approached, one foot dragging behind her like she had forgotten how to walk. All my instincts screamed at me to run, to slam the door and shut her out. But something rooted me to the spot. Maybe it was the symbols. Their strange appeal had drawn me into this mess. Whatever it was, I forced myself to stand still. She stopped a few feet away, tilting her head like a curious child. I tried to speak, but the words came out as a whisper. "Who are you?" The song seemed to swell around us, filling the empty space. Her lips curled into an unsettling smile, but instead of sound, only silence poured from her mouth. I couldn't breathe. Suddenly, she reached out a hand, fingers curling slightly. In her palm, there was something small and shimmering, a pendant. The same symbols from my notebook and the hallway danced across its surface, catching the dim light. I felt drawn to it, but fear held me back. "What do you want?" I managed to ask, voice shaky. She simply pointed down the hallway, as if inviting me to follow, and my gaze shifted in the direction she indicated. At the far end of the corridor, the shadows appeared thicker, as if forming a path lined with the same symbols. The air tingled with an energy I couldn't understand. I looked back at her. My heart raced with the conflict inside me. I didn't want to follow her, yet the pull of those symbols was impossible to resist. My mind flashed to the drawings I had made. This was all somehow connected. Before I could react, the woman turned, gliding back into the shadows, leaving the pendant dangling just within reach. I stepped forward instinctively, reaching for it. But as my fingers brushed against the cold metal, the lights flickered violently. I stumbled backward, a rush of panic flooding my senses. The figure was gone, swallowed by darkness, leaving me alone with the pendant clutched in my hand. The music grew louder and warped, twisting itself into an unsettling cacophony. What had I just experienced? I had no answers, only more questions. I breathed heavily, trying to gather my thoughts. I needed to know what was happening. But another noise erupted from behind me. It was a soft, almost melodic chuckle that chilled me to my core. I spun around.
But the hallway was empty again, and the song continued its dissonant rhythm. There was no one else here but me. I couldn't stay in this hallway. A sense of urgency gripped me. I turned, ready to run back to my apartment, but the way seemed darker than before. I felt the combined weight of the symbols I had seen, and the figure who had confronted me. What did it all mean? That's when I saw something flash at the edge of my vision, like a light reflecting off glass. I turned again, and that's when my heart sank. The door to my apartment was slightly ajar. I stood frozen for a moment, my mind racing. The door creaked ever so slightly, inviting me in, while sending shivers down my spine. The dim light from the hallway barely illuminated the space beyond, but I could see my living room, a scene that now felt foreign and threatening. I took a step toward the door, heart pounding. What if that figure had followed me? What if she was already inside? The questions spiraled in my head, each one more terrifying than the last. I forced myself to breathe and edged closer to the entrance, peering inside. The room appeared untouched, but a feeling of dread settled like a heavy fog. I called out, "Hello?" My voice echoed, swallowed by silence. I didn't want to be the fool who walked into a trap, but the unease gnawed at me. With a quick glance over my shoulder, I stepped inside. The pendant hung heavy in my pocket. It was a constant reminder of my encounter. Maybe it was a key to understanding what was happening. I pulled it out, holding it up to the light, but it offered no answers, just more questions. I turned back toward the door, ready to close it, but then I saw it. A piece of paper was lying on the floor, half hidden under the coffee table. My throat tightened as I knelt down to pick it up. My hands shook as I unfolded it, revealing cryptic symbols that mirrored those on the pendant. I squinted at the writing beneath. One word stood out: awakening. The chill that raced down my spine felt all too final. There was something about the word that echoed in my mind, sparking a recollection of the woman and her haunting smile. Before I could process further, I heard a noise coming from the hallway, a soft rustling that made my stomach drop. I quickly shoved the paper into my pocket, then I ducked behind the couch, my breath hitching in my throat. The noise grew louder, and my pulse quickened as I strained to listen. It sounded like footsteps, slow and deliberate. I peered around the edge of the couch, and that's when I saw it. A shadow moved just outside my front door, its form obscured by the dim light, but undeniably there. I couldn't tell if it was the woman again or someone else entirely.
My instincts told me to stay low and silent, but curiosity burned in me. Who were they? What did they want? The footsteps ceased, leaving an unbearable stillness. My heart felt like it was beating out of my chest. I had to know. What if it was the figure? What if it was someone who could answer my questions? Suddenly, the door creaked open wider. A figure stepped inside, and my breath caught in my throat. This person was different. Their silhouette was broader, and they moved with purpose. I could see the faint outline, dark clothing, tall frame, and something glinting in their hand. "Hello?" I whispered, my voice trembling. Then the figure turned, revealing only darkness where their face should be. The room felt like it had spun on its axis, and panic surged through me. I was not prepared for this. Someone was in my apartment, and I was cornered. "Who are you?" I managed to croak, clutching the pendant tightly. My pulse raced as I awaited their answer, my mind racing with dread. I held my breath, waiting for the figure to respond. My instincts screamed at me to flee, but disbelief held me in place. Then, in the silence, a soft voice broke through, as smooth and calm as pouring water. "I'm here to help you." Every nerve in my body tingled with those words. Help? I felt like I was in a dream where logic had no place. Help? From who? What do you want? I managed to ask, still clinging to the couch for support. The figure stepped into the dim light, revealing more details. A tall man with tousled hair and piercing eyes that seemed to reflect the faint glow from the lamp. He was older than I first guessed, perhaps in his late 30s. Something in his demeanor felt unsettlingly familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on it. "I know about the pendant," he said, his voice low and urgent. "You need to listen to me. There's not much time." "Who are you?" I repeated, my heart hammering in my chest. I felt trapped between the urge to run and the overwhelming need to hear him out. "I am someone who has been searching for you," he replied, taking a small step closer. "You're not safe here. The awakening is near, and those who seek the pendant will come for you." The word awakening sent shivers down my spine again, and I instinctively felt for the pendant in my pocket. "What does that mean? What's happening to me?" He sighed, seeming to choose his words carefully. "The symbols, the pendant, all of it ties back to an ancient power, a power that mustn't fall into the wrong hands. You have to trust me." Trust? His claim bordered on absurd, and yet I felt an undeniable pull to him. The fear of the unknown rushed through me, but I also sensed a flicker of hope. "Why should I believe you? The woman you
saw," he said, his tone shifting from worried to serious. "She's not who she appears to be. She's drawn to the pendant, and she won't stop until she gets it. We have to leave now." Before I could respond, the sound of pounding footsteps echoed outside my door again, louder this time. My heart sank as dread enveloped me. They were here. The woman was coming. "Quick, we have to go, now!" He motioned for me to follow him, urgency radiating from his every word. Hesitating only for a moment, feeling the weight of impending danger bearing down on me, I jumped up and followed him toward the back door, fear driving my every step. But as I reached for the doorknob, I caught sight of something shimmering in the darkness, 2 eyes watching us from the hallway. With a jolt, I turned back to the man. "What do we do? We can't just—" But he didn't answer. He was already pushing the door open, revealing a night shrouded in shadows, and I heard that soft voice again, now colder than before, piercing through the air. "It's too late. You should have given it to me when you had the chance." I felt a sickening dread wash over me. The figure in the doorway was no longer a mystery. It was her. And in that moment I realized the pendant was only the beginning of a much darker journey. Immediately, I felt my instincts kick in. The man's gaze turned toward the doorway, and I saw the tension in his shoulders. He was ready for a fight. I wasn't. My heart raced, a wild drum in my chest, as I wondered if we could outrun her. Without warning, he grabbed my wrist and began to pull me outside. Now! He was urgent, and there was no time to hesitate. I stumbled after him into the night, my breath pooling in the cool air. The street was eerily quiet, but I couldn't shake the feeling we were being watched. We ran down the dark path behind the house, the weight of the pendant heavy in my pocket. I felt its warmth as if it was alive, something that would either save me or doom me. "Where are we going?" I gasped, glancing back at the house. The door stood ajar, the light from inside casting long shadows. She could be coming after us any moment. "To my car. We need to get as far away as possible," he replied, his voice steady but low. "They'll know where you are if we don't move fast." As we reached the end of the path, I saw a parked car at the curb, its lights off and hidden in the shadows. But before we could reach it, I heard a faint laugh cut through the silence, like shattered glass. I froze. It was her voice. Even from a distance, I could sense the menace in it. "Did you really think you could escape that easily?" called out, her words dripping with mockery. He tugged at my arm, urging me to keep going. "Don't look back," he whispered, but curiosity gnawed at me. I turned my head, and there she stood, her silhouette sharp against the dim light of the street lamp. The way she moved was unnaturally fluid, like a predator stalking its prey. I could see her hair whip around her shoulders, a dance in the night. My stomach churned at the sight, and the pendant felt even warmer against my skin. Suddenly, just as we reached the car, a loud bang echoed behind us, a heavy smash like glass breaking. I spun around to see that she had flung something at the window of my house. A chilling rush of fear swept through me as I heard her call out again, "You can't hide from what you are." What does she mean? I shot a glance back to the man, desperate for answers. He was already opening the car door, his expression hardening. "Get in." I hesitated for a split second before jumping into the passenger seat. Panic thrummed in my veins as he slid into the driver's side and fumbled with the keys. "We need to leave, now," he urged, eyes darting between the rearview mirror and the darkness outside. He turned the engine over, and the car roared to life. Just as he hit the gas, I spotted a shadow darting toward us, a blur of motion in the corner of my eye. I gasped and leaned forward, my breath catching in my throat. The last thing I saw before he sped away was her face, mixed with anger and determination, as if she had just lost a piece of her game. Then everything blurred as the car veered onto the main road. "What do we do now?" I managed, glancing at him. My thoughts tumbled in circles. He exhaled sharply, gripping the wheel with white knuckles. "We head to a safe place. It's time for you to learn the truth about your pendant." And just when I thought I could breathe, the chill settled back in as realization struck. The awakening was only just beginning, and I was right in its path. We drove in tense silence, the only sound the tires crunching over gravel and the low hum of the engine. The streetlights flickered past in quick succession, casting long shadows in the car. I could feel the weight of the pendant pressing against my thigh, urging me to understand its significance. "Are we safe?" I finally asked, breaking the silence. My fingers danced anxiously over the clasp of my seatbelt. "For now," he replied, his eyes fixed ahead. "But we need to get to the old church outside of town. It's a safe haven for people like you." People like me? I wanted to shout, to demand what that even meant. Instead, I kept quiet, my mind still lingering on her chilling laughter. "Who is she?" I dropped my gaze to my
hands, the pendant glowing faintly as if in response to my question. "What do I have to do with whatever this is?" He glanced at me, his jaw tense. "You have a gift, and so does she. That pendant is a key to your potential, but it's also drawing her to you, and she won't stop." Her words echoed in my head. "You can't hide from what you are." The fear clawed at my throat like a chokehold. What am I? "Let's just get to the church." There was a definite urgency in his voice, like every second counted. "You'll be safer there, I promise." As we sped down the road, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were careening into something much worse than the night outside. I had no clue what lay ahead, but I could sense the darkness lurking in the shadows. Just then, headlights appeared in the rearview mirror, and I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. "Someone's following us!" I exclaimed, my voice a mix of alarm and panic. He stiffened, his foot pressing harder on the gas. "Stay low. It could be her. Don't attract attention." I slumped down in my seat, my heart racing. The headlights grew closer, illuminating the trees alongside the road. I could barely breathe as the car behind us quickened its pursuit. "Why is this happening?" I murmured, almost to myself. I needed answers, but the only response was the roar of the engine and my growing dread. Suddenly, there was a loud honk, and the pursuing car swerved, cutting off a corner and speeding up beside us. I looked up just as a figure leaned out of the passenger window, shouting something I couldn't hear over the rush of wind. "What do we do?" I yelled. He glanced over, panic flashing in his eyes, before he focused back on the road. "Hold on." Before I could process what was happening, he yanked the wheel hard, veering off the main road onto a bumpy dirt path. The car lurched beneath us, bouncing as he fought to keep it steady. I clutched the door, fear slamming into me. Then everything went dark as the headlights disappeared behind us. I looked back, but all I could see was the woods swallowing the road. "What just happened?" I whispered, the tremor in my voice betraying my calm facade. "Just keep quiet and breathe. We're not out of danger yet." He was breathing heavily too. That's when I saw it, the glow of something faint and angry just beyond the tree line. An unnatural light pulsed with a rhythm that felt eerily familiar. It whispered to me, tugging at the pendant in my pocket. "Do you see that?" I pointed, fear twisting in my stomach. He stared straight ahead, his expression hardening as he realized what I had spotted. "No, it can't be." Then came the low howl that echoed through the trees, sending a chill racing down my spine. "What is that?" I gasped, the piece of the puzzle slipping just out of reach. He clutched the steering wheel tighter. "We need to go, now!" The night thickened around us, and I knew we were far from safe. but the urgency in his voice urged me forward into the unknown. Whatever waited ahead, there was no turning back now. The car jolted over the uneven terrain, each bump jarring me in my seat. The trees closed in around us like a suffocating blanket. The faint glow ahead flickered and pulsed, drawing me in, even as panic twisted my insides. "Is it her?" I whispered, though I wasn't sure if I meant the woman who had haunted my mind or whatever was lurking beyond the trees. "Yes," he said with a hard edge. "We need to get away from here, fast." My heart raced as I scanned the dark forest. The howling echoed again, but this time it sounded closer. A wave of fear washed over me. This wasn't just a random encounter. "Why is she after me?" I pressed, my voice strained. "What do I have that she wants?" "That's what we need to figure out," he replied. "But for now, just focus on getting to the church." As we veered deeper into the woods, I could see shapes flitting between the trees, shadows that moved with purpose, not like the wind. My breath quickened, and I gripped the pendant tighter. It felt warm against my palm, alive with energy. "Do you feel that?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. It's like it's reacting to something." "It's connected to her," he replied, glancing momentarily in my direction. "That's why I said we need to keep moving." Suddenly, the car hit a rut and the engine sputtered before stalling. We lurched forward in our seats. A sinking feeling settled in my stomach as I realized we were dead in the dark woods. "Get out," he ordered, grabbing the door handle. "We have to run." Before I could respond, he threw the door open and jumped out, urging me to follow. I scrambled out of the car, and we hit the ground. The night air was thick with tension, the howls growing closer. We crouched low, using the car as cover. In the distance, the glow brightened. It pulsed rhythmically, matching the ominous howls that surrounded us. I could feel it in my chest, reverberating through the ground. "What do we do?" I asked, frantically searching for answers in his piercing gaze. "We wait," he said, steady and resolute. "We need to know what we're dealing with." From the shadows, those fleeting shapes emerged, figures moving with fluid grace. They were drawn to the light, almost entranced. I felt a cold sweat break out along my spine. This was not the end. It was just the beginning. The glow shifted and morphed, revealing a visage that twisted my stomach. It was a face I had seen before, but not in flesh, in nightmares. It was her. "He's right," I murmured in disbelief. "I can't hide from her." The countdown began in my mind. I could feel the urgency thrumming within me. Something dark was about to unfold. Just as I thought the nightmare couldn't get any worse, a chilling scream pierced the stillness of the night. "Get ready," he said, looking back toward the noise. "It's time." My heart pounded. There was no way back now. We were caught in a web of terror, and whatever challenge lay ahead was waiting. The only way out was through. The night stretched into an unbearable silence, punctuated only by the distant howling. The figure's dance moved closer, and the pulsing glow intensified. As I crouched near the car, a shiver ran through me. This was it, the moment I could no longer deny. Whatever was about to happen would change everything. The man beside me held his breath as he eyed the figures emerging from the shadows. I glanced down at the pendant, still warm in my palm. Its soft glow seemed to match the rhythm of the pulsing light ahead. It felt alive, and I instinctively wrapped my fingers around it tighter. "Remember what I said," he hissed, urgency knitting his brow. "Do not let her take you." I nodded, trembling, but in that moment of fear, a strange calm settled within me. I didn't know what I was or what was happening, but deep down I felt a flicker of strength. Maybe the pendant wasn't just a burden. Perhaps it was my ally. As the glowing visage moved closer, I recognized her distinct silhouette, the neighbor I had seen through my window, her figure now shadowed by an aura of menace. She was mesmerizing yet terrifying, gliding toward the clearing with an air of inevitability. The symbols danced around her like an escort, shimmering and alive. Suddenly, there was movement on the fringes of the clearing. Other figures, individuals caught in her thrall. I could see their blank stares, their bodies bent toward her, as if they were marionettes obeying her sinister tune. "What is happening?" I murmured, grappling with the underlying power of the scene. "They are bound to her," he replied, jaw clenched tight. "She's using the energy from the pendant, feeding off it. We need to sever that connection before the awakening completes." His words made sense, a part of me eager to understand. I wasn't just running from her. I was running towards something that could stem this chaos. But before I could form a plan, she turned her gaze toward us, those eyes locking with mine. The moment our eyes met, a rush of emotions surged inside me. Fear, anger, a hunger I didn't comprehend. "Come to me," she beckoned, her voice slipping through the air like silk, weaving a thread that pulled at my core. "Don't listen to her," he yelled, grabbing my arm. The pulse of light flickered, and instinctively
I reached for the pendant. It burned against my skin, an angry fire that hummed with life. In that moment, something shifted inside me. The air thickened, charged with an energy I had never known. I stepped forward, almost involuntarily, breaking free from his grip. "What do you want from me?" I called, my challenge steady despite the terror throbbing beneath my calm exterior. "What does this all mean?" She smiled, a twisting expression that sent chills racing down my spine. "You are the last key, the one who can unlock the true sanctuary. Join me, and together we can harness this power." My heart raced as conflicting thoughts fought for dominance. Part of me screamed to run, to flee from this impossible reality. Yet another part of me pulsed with intrigue, with possibility. Maybe I had been seeking something my whole life, and now it lay just within reach. The figures grew restless behind her, their energy spurring on my heart's growing need for answers. "You're wrong," I said, louder this time, grounding my words in conviction. "I will not become your pawn." As I finished speaking, the pendant flared brightly, illuminating the space. An eruption of sound echoed as the ground trembled beneath me. The shadows of those figures flickered as though they were being pulled between two forces, my resolve and her malice. "Do you think you can defy me?" she screeched, the air crackling with tension. "You belong to the awakening." "It's not just you," I shouted back, my voice steady against the spiraling chaos. "It's about all of us here." Energy surged through me in waves, igniting all the fears I had ever held, and twisting them into a resolve I hadn't known existed. The symbol swirling about her flickered, a cloud of doubt creeping over her as my voice rose higher. "I will not hide," I declared, my heart hammering wildly. "I choose my own path." The pendant erupted into a blinding light, illuminating everything in its wake. The figures paused, their connection to her wavering. I could feel the essence coursing through me, responding to my defiance, emboldening me. In an instant, I raised the pendant high, and the figures around her recoiled. Relief flooded through me as I pointed it directly at her. "This ends now!" A brilliant beam shot forth, engulfing her. The ground quaked violently, a portal swirling into existence behind her as the symbol shattered like glass.
Her anger morphed into disbelief as the light engulfed her, twisting her silhouette. Her hold on the others crumbled as they staggered back, freed from her grasp. "No!" she screamed, her voice echoing as she vanished into the light, swallowed by the shadows. As the light faded and the terror dispersed, I gasped for breath. The remaining figures blinked, clarity washing over their faces as they escaped what had held them captive. Confusion mixed with a glimmer of gratitude. I turned to the man, who was equally breathless. "Is it over?" "For now," he said. Urgency lacing his tone. "But she'll return. We need to find answers. Together." With that, the shadows dissolved, guiding the congregative souls into the unknown, perhaps toward their own awakening. My heart still racing, I knew things had only begun to unravel. We would seek the truth and uncover the mysteries waiting for us, together. I took a deep breath, clenching the pendant close. As my eyes met the horizon stretching before us, questions lingered like the fading glow of night. What lay ahead in my journey? And would I truly be safe from the awakening that was far from over?